feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem damn patty. Gotta keep on chugging, ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed in heaven, got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get ahead, so bump that, it's no surrender. Got a dollar flipped up, I'm trying to get it in FT to get them when they're hand and crypto. Learn how to fix that. I don't really hold out of books, but I'ma learn how to fix that. Some opportunities will never come unless you paying attention, so no, I can't miss that. Moving, MVP, I got the record, I might have to prove something. Big jumper worthy, they gon' have to retire my jersey early. Whole crew coming, had to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that. Big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no ends, yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice, I did all that. Yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my big dog, walking big talk, young veteran, living legend, bet I'm better than them. This is my ship, I'm a jacket like Letterman, y'all but not let them in. They gon' rotate this so I keep the pedaling, started a chain. The cycle is heaven sent, this is from God, but I'm not your reverend, not in the pulpit. I'm a pit bull in this element, yeah. Said you gon' pull up, then settle it, yeah. I've been married to this hustle, this is my ring, watch out step in it, yeah. And I ain't even got a yard, but I'ma get it here. Watch out touchdown, pulling plans out the clutch. Everybody getting crushed, the cut down is for us now. Have to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that. Big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no ends, yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice, I did all that. Yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my, yeah. Run it, I can't take no loss, I don't even know what it costs, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, I don't even know what it costs, yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem damn patty. Gotta keep on chugging, ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed in heaven, got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get ahead, so bump that, it's no surrender. Got a dollar flipped up, I'm trying to get it in FT to get them when they're hand and crypto. Learn how to fix that. I don't really hold out of books, but I'ma learn how to fix that. Some opportunities will never come unless you paying attention, so no, I can't miss that. Moving, MVP, I got the record, I might have to prove something. Big jumper worthy, they gon' have to retire my jersey early. Whole crew coming, had to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that. Big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no ends, yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice, I did all that. Yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go.
Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. He is Jason, the chosen one. I am Greg, a legend in my own mind. Jay, what's going on with you, fam?
Still trying to wake up from a good night's rest after Thursday night, Friday morning. You know,
I feel you though.
Good rest.
So let me start off by thanking the people that support the channel, Rock Dog Interactive. If you need anything relative to website design or graphic design, online presence, Rock Dog Interactive, they are the people that you need to go to. Black Father Figures, that's the League of Legacy, doing incredible work in the communities. Hopefully we'll hear from the League of Legacy soon. And then Nadaj Vodka, www.nadajvodka.com, the best tasting vodka, Jay, I have seen out there. Got that kiwi taste, triple distilled, owned by a African-American man from Orlando, Florida. So shout out to him. He's based right now in Jacksonville, Florida. You can find the Dodge Vodka in select stores in Florida, but you can also go online and order a bottle. Make sure that you do so. All right, Jay, let me go ahead and see who's in the chat so I can show them love. Got 29 people in the building. We got 11 likes. Guys, if you're in the building, smash that like button so people can find this content. And if you're new to the channel, of course, this is Angry Man Podcast and Sports Media. We are a boxing channel, Jay, but we're also a sports, we're an entertainment channel. We try our best to not only give you guys things to think about, informative information, but also create a community within boxing and all the sports. So we got John Mack in the building. What's going on with you, John? Richard Parrish, salute, all things salute, real, recognize fake, salute. Band up, my guy, band up. Got those Huskies all day, every day until the championship game, in which case they will lose. All right, Jay. So those are all the people that I see in the chat right now. So Jay, let's go ahead and kick it off with our first topic.
What's happening? The
mic check is in the building. Fam in the building. What's going on, T-Word? What's happening with you? All right, bro. Let's go ahead and kick it off.
Yes,
we are going to start with this past week's fight between Shakur Stevenson and Omari Hardwick. Now, Jay, it was an interesting fight. First and foremost, when I first saw the fight, I thought it was, I thought Shakur looked sharp in the first few rounds. It took Ghost a little bit of time to really start to set in and try to find his range. Shakur looked sharp, but what I expected to see was Shakur starting to move forward a little bit. Now, I expected him to move backwards at first to try to figure out the distance, feel what James St. Patrick had in the chamber in terms of power and his ability to box and his speed and things of that nature. But Shakur continued that same thing over and over and over, and it just became rinse and repeat. And I think it left a sour taste in a lot of people's mind. Now, granted, James St. Patrick had the opportunity to do more than what he did. Of course, he could have cut off the ring a little bit more, tried to engage Shakur Stevenson a little bit more, force him to fight. But at the same time, that would have opened him up for the opportunity to get caught with something big as well. So, Jay, it was a disappointing performance as far as I'm concerned. This is no knock to Shakur Stevenson in terms of his skill level or anything of that nature, but I think you would be lying to yourself if you didn't say that was an incredibly disappointing performance. So, Jay, what's your thoughts on that?
Facts. And highly disappointing, that fight. I mean, it seems like Shakur is less likely to engage with someone that has power. When he has power, he pulls that. He did that a couple of other fights before. So it was just annoying, man. It was hard to watch.
Yeah.
I was sitting there trying to watch it, trying to stay up. Wasn't entertaining. It was, De Los Santos didn't help the narrative neither by not fully engaging as well. But for Shakur to run as much as he did, and I hate to call a boxer a runner, but he was actually running in this fight. It wasn't he wasn't just taking stuff back. He was just not engaging, just trying to avoid him at all costs, it seems. And then he says that, I don't make any excuses. I wasn't feeling well. I don't know if he was pulling the Keyshawn Davis. My tummy hurt. Said he had rumors out to say he had a hurt hand, hurt shoulder, whatnot. Then he tweets, deletes. Oh, I one arm banded or one with one arm or whatever. So it's just a lot out there. And I like Shakur. I really do like his game as far as a fighter. But that fight against Edwin De Los Santos, or as you call him, James St. Patrick or Ghost, it wasn't it. He's not going to be on no pay-per-view with that type of showing. And yeah, you definitely have to have the right dance partner, but you can't sit there and just do that type of performance. We seen Tank when Tank fought Eastside Cruz with a messed up hand. Yeah. Tank still engaged. You still have to engage to some degree, some type of degree. And Shakur wasn't doing that. And then the fact that Shakur, he's been tweeting out there like, if you don't want to watch, don't watch. Dude, not a good comment right there. We stayed up till basically the next day to watch you fight. Mm-hmm. A lot of people didn't know who Edwin De Los Santos was. We stood up to watch you fight and gain a championship, game and title. You didn't entertain, and then you get mad at us for being upset with the product you're part of. It's not cool. You're killing people with that, saying, "Oh, I don't care." Yeah, you do. You do care because you said you want to be the next pay-per-view star. To be the next pay-per-view star, you got to be entertaining. You can't turn off your fans and pretty much turn on fans or turn on boxing fans in general. I saw Shakur fans pissed off at him. So that's the problem. When you say don't watch, nah, Shakur, that ain't it, dude. You still a phenomenal talent, but you gotta do better than that, man. Gotta do better.
We got Jake Donovan in the building of BoxingScene.com. Jake, what's going on with you, fam?
Not much, man. Thanks for having me back on the show, man.
Welcome, Jake.
Oh,
Yeah,
no
man.
problem whatsoever.
I've just listened to you preach, man. I'm like, I don't even know what I could possibly add to
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I know you watched the fight, and did you feel that, you know, I started off by saying that I felt that Shakur Stevenson was going to fight more similar to what we saw in the past, moving forward a little bit. And that was going to give Edwin de los Santos the opportunities to engage with him, and we would see Shakur fight in the pocket to some degree. And I think that would have been an entertaining fight because Shakur has the ability to evade shots. We know he's a defensive wizard. And so I was looking forward to that fight. And I did a video where I said that I believe that Edwin de los Santos will be a live dog. Unfortunately, based off of the way that Shakur fought, it wasn't the case. So Jay, did you think he was going to fight in a different manner?
So I hate to put it this way. They kind of warned us that like of the type of performance that would come. We've seen Shakur just give like a very, very boring performance. And it doesn't help that like ESPN, which is, they're basically an extension of Top Rank at this point.
Exactly.
But like they've always talked about in the past, like the low connect percentage, it's like, oh, he's, they like really emphasize on it. And it's like, you're kind of warning your viewers that this is what's coming when Shakur fights. Like you're accepting it. Like, okay, his guys only landed 10%. It's like, it's great if it's like, the art of hit and don't get hit. But all Shakur did was just fight to not get hit all night. I get it. He said he was injured or whatever he went through. I'm not going to sit there and, validate any of it. If you were that hurt, just don't fight. Yeah. Because, I mean, what happened if we did get like, the Shakur-Frank Martin fight? Like, would you still go through with the fight knowing that, Frank Martin might be more of a threat than Edwin de los Santos? Hold on. Sorry. It was for what we got with the co-feature. Now, granted, I don't think to me, that was less predictable that, Robson Conceição would show up and give a fight like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a fight of the year. I'm not going to go that far, but that was, to me, Navarrete always kind of brings it. But for what Conceição delivered, like that fight really, I thought that fight over-delivered. And if Shakur came in as damaged goods, like, like he's claiming, we would have been just fine with that fight. I don't think the audience they were trying to cater to, the whole thing was that, the catering to Formula One, ESPN wanted this show. Yeah. I feel like you could have just put on any fight you wanted. And if Navarrete was in your co-feature, you already had him fighting Oscar Valdez, and he gave one of the best performances of his career. That's fresh in the viewers' minds for anyone who watches ESPN. That guy just fought 3 months ago. He always brings it. Take a chance on him. And if Conceição stunk it out, then, you could chalk it up to that. But, like, we would have been just fine with that fight as the main event. We would have been off the air by 11:30. Could have been a one-fight show. Maybe throw in a prospect, like in the co-feature. But, like, as you said, you got people, tuning in past midnight because ESPN had to show some stupid feature or whatever, like they always do. And just – it was just a waste of time, man. All they, I felt like they just stole money that night. They just ESPN, they paid for this.
Yeah.
If that's going to be your excuse, Shakur should have just not fought that night. I would have rather just seen that. Push that fight out. Look, you have a couple more dates. Just find another date. I get that ESPN is dictating the Top Rank and they're kind of married to it, but Shakur. I mean, to his credit, I guess he's good enough to make. I don't know where Edwin de los Santos is going to land. In the lightweight scape in the grand scheme of things. But he was good enough to make a guy like that, look the way he did. And De Los Santos is certainly not blameless in this. I get so sick of hearing that, like, oh, this guy came and ran. It's like, well, you're a puncher. You find ways to knock people out. You can't just expect, especially someone like Shakur. He's not going to stand in front of you and allow you to knock him out. So you deserve a lot of the blame, too. I mean, this guy called out Shakur for a year. And threw what, 300-something punches all night for 12. This is what you waited a year for. This is what we had to hear you go on and on and on. Stalk this guy on every social media platform whatsoever. Like Shakur is going to find a way to make it back to the ring. A guy like De Los Santos, who's going to want to watch him fight? You're going to be the B-side. You're going to have to sneak up and go knock out another, Jose Valenzuela or whatever, to find your way back into the mix. I'm less interested in his career at this point because he spent so long talking all this junk about what he was going to do. He got the opportunity to fight Shakur. To his credit, he took the fight. And then he showed up and didn't really do anything either. So, Shakur, I mean, we'll see. He's stunk it out. Then he's come back and then he gives the performance like he did against Yoshino, where he finds a way to knock guys out. Yeah. Against Jamel Herring, like when he knows he's going to dominate, he will. like I said, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. If he was injured, so be it. I'm not going to sit here and write a press release, on his behalf. But it was just unfortunate. I feel like, especially with everything going on with Showtime, they're going out of the sport. It was like we had this point 5 years ago. HBO went out. Like, who's going to pick up the mantle? Nobody has in those 5 years. Now Showtime's going out of the sport. And I've been saying that ESPN, if they truly wanted to, they could really run boxing. I just don't think they want to. I think they just want to give you ESPN's version of boxing, and this is what Roey's going to get with them. And that was kind of a reflection of what we got on Thursday night. I like it. I'm not a car racing fan by any stretch. I know there's a lot more to auto racing than cars just circling a track over and over, but that's why I said this has the entertainment value of watching the car just go around the track over and over. That's, it was like a fitting start to Formula One weekend.
I totally agree. I think that's totally fair. I think that's a fair assessment. And, I just don't understand why people get upset because you criticize them or that you have an opinion. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. It's not like I'm saying anything personal about you, or Jake, you're saying anything, or Jason, you're saying anything personal about. This is strictly related to their boxing performance, and I just had an issue with his boxing performance. And Jay, I think that may transition us to another topic that I specifically want to get your opinion on, Jake. Shakur Stevenson, during the presser, mentioned that boxing media is the worst media out of all the sports. And this is my personal opinion. I definitely want to get your thoughts on it because I know you've been in this profession for a very long time. But in my opinion, and I'm speaking for Jason and myself, we're not journalists. We do sports commentary and analysis. We're not necessarily here to report the news. We're not going through all of the steps that a trained journalist would go through in order to validate stories. That's not who we are. That's not what we do. Our platform is to come on, give conversational pieces, create conversational pieces for people to talk about, and then give our opinion on those topics. Now, to the best of our ability, we try to validate as much as we can, but we can't always validate things because we're not necessarily connected to a specific boxer, a promotional company, or anything of the sort. And I think the boxers, to a large degree, get that. They don't understand it. They misunderstand that point. And they think everybody should behave as a journalist. But not only that, when you think about the NBA, when you think about the NHL, the NFL, the behavior of the players are completely different from a boxer, right? So a boxer is expecting this high level of professionalism as it relates to the quote unquote boxing media, yet you'll see Shakur Stevenson saying, I don't give a F. He's all on Twitter, dropping F bombs, dropping N bombs, dropping every bomb that you can think of. And I've said on multiple occasions that the boxing media, if you will, is a direct reflection of the environment that he operates within. So Jay, what's your thought? Not Jay, but Jake, what's your thoughts on that?
I kind of, when people say, it's funny that you mentioned that. Like, I want to know like what he meant by boxing media. Does he mean like old dinosaurs like myself, guys that just write? Does he mean video guy, YouTube channels? Boxing media is a massive landscape. It's like, so that's I want to know like Devin Haney, for example, more so Bill Haney. He's very comfortable going to his specific YouTube channels. Yeah, they talk a lot of junk. A lot of media has a lot to say about Devin, but Devin will go sit there and do interviews with everyone. Before a fight, after a fight. He totally gets it. He reads about himself, whatever. He has his comments, but he'll sit there and do his job in the ring and then outside the ring. So then there's some, I don't know, like some fighters, I feel like guys like myself, like we're supposed to be their publicists. It's like, well, you have people at Top Rank for that already. You have your own publicist beyond Top Rank. So there's people who are supposed to write these, fluffy pieces on your behalf. But when you get the media who coddles that, and look, I'm going to take blame too. I've written more than my share of soft pieces. So I get it when, when the fighter expects that all the time. We shouldn't, and I expect to get called out on it. I have in the past. Now the difference between me and a lot of other people, I will say, like, when people, call me out for something that I do and I know that they're right, I just sit there and I take it. Shakur, to me, the best comment that he had after the fight was that he knows that he talks a lot of junk and that he expected the criticism. Just live right there with it. No, you gave a horrible, not a horrible one, but it was just no entertainment value whatsoever. People are going to criticize it. Let people criticize. At some point, they're just going to get tired of talking about it. And the people who want to keep going on about it, other people are going to get tired of hearing from them. Just live with this, for the couple of days or whatever. We're going to forget about it, and then we're going to move on to the next fight. But then you sit there and try to play about, whataboutisms, like his media team is doing, that only makes it worse. That continues the conversation. Just let this die. I want to completely forget about this fight. So totally sure to sit there and say the boxing media. Look, there's a lot of holes in the boxing media. I'm not gonna lie. On both sides, whether it's writers, video, whatever. There's people who just go out and blatantly kiss a fighter's ass because they know that's how they have to survive. And I think too many boxers have kind of gotten used to that. They expect that soft coverage, 100% of the time. You're not going to get it. Sometimes you just have to read about yourself. So, like I said, I would like to know what specific audience Shakur was talking about before I go any further on that. But, boxers, you just can't, they can pick and choose. That's the thing with boxing. Like, they have the right to not talk to the media if they don't want to. Like someone like, and this isn't Gervonta Davis. This is the team surrounding Gervonta Davis. They'll pick and choose who gets to speak to him like before a fight. But when Gervonta is in front of the media, he's going to talk to everybody. So, that's just the way the sport is, though. We're self-policed, so we kind of got to live with, whatever access we can get. And, fighters, I think they just have to live with whatever coverage they're going to get because that's where the sport is at. Nobody really cares about us outside of our own universe.
Totally agree, Jay. You had some thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree with that. That's just, I think some fighters are, if you're going to talk a lot of noise, then prepare for the criticism to come with it when you don't deliver. And to Jake's point, when he said, I talk a lot, Shakur saying that I talk a lot of shit and I just got to eat it. I appreciate that so much. But then he went on and starts going opposite. I don't have any excuses, but X, Y, Z, if anything, Spence didn't say anything. Spence hasn't spoken since August. Let's be real. And he said, even if I had an excuse, I wouldn't give it to you. And he left it at that. He allowed everyone else, his camp, media, anyone else to talk on his behalf. He hasn't said anything one way or the other. I wish Shakur had done that because I could have accepted him saying, I talk a lot of mess. I got to eat it. I didn't have a good performance. I had a bad day. I would have taken that completely. But for him just to go back and start bashing people, don't watch, blank, 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 and one arm bandit. Nah, dude. I know he's young. He's 26, I believe now. 26. So, he's 26. So he has time to grow and everything. I hope he does mature. He's saying, I'm just going to take time now. I just going to take time just to be with my family. I had a long time training. I've been training since April. So that's an excuse, Shakur. He's going back to the opposite side. So, but he's a phenomenal talent, and no, De La Santos, he doesn't take all the blame. De La Santos got to take some blame as well, but Shakur is the one that was really talking a lot of big game, like he's the boogeyman, blah blah blah, whatnot. So I'm hoping to see a different Shakur in 2024, a more mature Shakur.
Yo, Jay, just to nail this or write this home or whatever the phrase is, 2 days ago. I added Shakur Stevenson after he put the 100%, wasn't 100% tonight. I said, bro, sometimes it's better to just take the criticism. Can't say you weren't 100% an excuse and then say no excuses. Chalk it up to a learning experience. Admit that it wasn't a good performance and you will improve. That's what I added him. So it's like we're all saying the exact same thing. Like, eat it and move on. But when you try to make excuses about it, all it does is make it worse. All right. So, Jay, before we move on to the next topic, we got 86 people in the building, 33 likes. If you get the opportunity, please hit that like button so that other people can find this content. And not only that, if you're new to the channel, this is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media. We drop all kind of content, including boxing, NBA, college football. Make sure you check us out and hit that subscribe button. Jay, what direction do you want to go in now?
Yeah, well, last thing with Shakur, this is with your favorite analyst, Timothy Bradley, saying that he believed that Shakur would expose Tank if they were to fight.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Personally, I don't think he would expose him because Shakur has done this on anytime he's fought someone with power, and I think Tank's smart enough and has a high enough boxing IQ. He's not going to just let that happen like De La Santos did. He's going to find ways to cut the ring off and engage him, and he's going to make Shakur fight. And that's going to let us know everything we need to know about Shakur, if he can handle a type of a power puncher like Tank, or if he's just used to fighting people that don't have the power, and he can just outbox him, outclass him. Tank has a very high IQ boxing, so I think it would be harder for him just to try to, get on his bike or just do back steps the whole fight. So I don't think he's going to expose anything with Shakur. With Tank. I think it'll be a great fight, though. I do think that.
Yeah, Jake's. What's your opinion on it?
On Shakur exposing Tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's just look. Tim plays a role. That's he knows he has to know what he's saying. It's just ridiculous. He's going to say anything to get a reaction. Look, Tank is the guy. Yes, he can be outboxed. Can he be outboxed for 12 rounds? Nobody has proven that yet. You know, he's the point. You know, Tank is the guy that at some point he's going to find a way either to catch you or make that ring very, very small. Shakur is not going to. Obviously, we're not going to see Shakur fight the way he did on Thursday night and go try to fight Tank that way. I think he would try to make it as boring as possible. But that's a fight where you have to put on a boxing display. You have to make him miss and make him pay. You know, hit, don't get hit. You can't just play not get hit because Tank's going to find you at some point. So maybe in a pound for pound sense, people, you know, they look at the eye test and say, okay, well, maybe Shakur would rank ahead of Tank or whatever. You'd want to try to nitpick one or two fights that would put him ahead. I personally have Tank way ahead of Shakur in the pound for pound list at this point. And I still say Tank by knockout against anyone in and around the lightweight division until someone proves otherwise. And you mentioned it before, Jay. You know, Tank, when he got injured, he found a way to, you know, Isaac Cruz made it closer than it should have been, but, you know, Tank didn't run all night. You know, he found a way to win that fight, you know, when he only had one hit, when he could have knocked the guy out. So, you know, what's going to happen, you know, what's to stop Shakur from getting hurt in a Tank fight? What's he going to do then when you're a one-handed fighter or, you know, one-armed fighter against someone like, you know, someone who can knock you out and is going to find a way to cut off that ring? So, like I said, I'm not going to validate anything that Tim Bradley says. He knows what he's doing. He's saying stuff to get a reaction. I'm not going to give him the benefit.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Tim Bradley says a lot of stuff because he's pro Top Rank and he's trying to promote Top Rank. I think what you said in regards to ESPN being an extension of Top Rank, I totally agree with that. All you have to do is listen to the commentary for 5 minutes and you understand that really they're just a promotional entity that's also broadcasting the fight. In regards to
the fact that he's, I mean, look, I mean, everything Tim Bradley says, that meme is going to come out now with him wearing that stupid, you know, the racing helmet.
Yeah,
and that's it deserves it. That you know, a statement like that deserves that caption.
Agreed, totally agree. I just, you know, he is what he is, and he does what he does, and you know, it's for us as a platform. We'll cover what it is he's saying because he has a name in the sport, but. You know, at the end of the day, I don't believe that he believes everything that he says. And he's also contradicted himself in terms of Gervonta Davis and how that fight might play out. So it is what it is. Salute to Tim Bradley for doing his job and staying relevant. I think ESPN has done him a great service because I think he wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame if he wasn't a broadcaster for that network. Just my personal opinion. All right, Jay, what's the next topic you want to go down? I know we got a number of things, and I also want to make sure that we take time to ask Jake specific questions that may be going on in the sport currently. So if you're in the comment section, make sure that you give us your questions.
Yeah, so you know, it came out this week about Derrick James not being in AJ's corner for the fight with Otto Wallin, and people are jumped on it saying, "Oh no, he's no longer with AJ no more. He's no more AJ. Who's next?" So. You know, do you think EJ may be next, or based on what they came out, to my understanding, is this is a one fight thing where he won't be with Otto Wallin and he won't be with AJ for this Otto Wallin fight, but he'll be with AJ in the next fights in the coming next year.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of convenience for AJ. I think Ben Davison is there just, I'm not going to say to supplement, you know, the teachings of Derrick James, but, you know, it gives AJ a chance to train in England and then head to Saudi Arabia. Now, granted, I know he's trained in Dallas and then went back, you know, and, you know, to fight in England. But to me, this is a different scenario. Plus, you know, Ryan Garcia is getting ready for his fight in December. We still don't know what's going on with Errol Spence, but I'm not reading into, you know, too much into this yet. I have yet to hear that, you know, their relationship is over after 2 fights. I thought, you know, Derrick James actually done pretty well for AJ. You know, I think AJ's gotten everything. You know, he wanted to get away from everything in England. So he's, you know, that's been mission accomplished. That, you know, he said, like, you know, he trains in Dallas, but like he hasn't been able to appreciate, you know, Dallas. So I think he's getting everything he needs from that camp, and he will be back there in 2024. This is just, you know, I think your info is definitely dead on that. You know, it's just going to be, you know, a one fight thing. And, you know, Ben Davison has done that before. He's, you know, kind of, you know, trained someone in addition to everything else that's going on. He hasn't really, you know, taken over someone's career. Like, he's been involved in Devin Haney's career, and then Devin, you know, obviously he shows up on Fight Night with Bill. So that's all I see it, here. It's, just a different perspective. So I think AJ is going to be just fine.
I personally think that's an absolutely horrible idea. And the reason why I think it's a horrible idea is that you've only been with Derrick James for 2 fights. So why you probably need at least 4 fights before you actually get acclimated to the training style of your new trainer. So now you're going to switch to somebody else that's going to do something different, and then that's going to further hinder you from getting the teachings and understandings from Derrick James. So I struggle with this in terms of it being a good idea. I would rather fly to Dallas, train here, and then go over there 3 weeks early or however long and get acclimated to whatever environment that I'm going to be fighting in over there, rather than to switch trainers essentially yet again. I mean, you had Robert Garcia. Who did he have before Robert Garcia? Because he only had him for a fight. I guess it was maybe his normal trainer, but I don't know. But it was that trainer, then Robert Garcia, not Derrick James, to Ben Davidson. Now you'll go back to it's a disaster waiting to happen as far as I'm concerned. I think in the event that he gets into the ring with Deontay Wilder, who's been with his trainer now for what? Malik Scott for 2 fights? 2 or 3 fights. I just think...
Three fights now. Well, I don't know if you want to count Deontay Wilder's last fight a fight.
but still, he's been with him for quite some time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's gotten familiar with what Malik Scott is gonna do. He understands them. They have a chemistry. I just think it's a bad idea, and I don't think it sets him up for success. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe it ends up working out, but I don't see how that could be beneficial to him. He may win or he may be successful in spite of, but I definitely don't believe that that would be beneficial to him in the long run.
Yeah.
I totally respect that. I just feel like this is a special circumstance because of how quickly this show came together and everyone involved. Like for a show like this, you would think it's like years in the making. Like once like they started offering these fights, like they were like really scrambling. I think, the Saudis were like, we need an answer like right now. So everyone was like, for the money that's being offered. I think AJ just took it, and he took it at a time when Ryan Garcia is training. This is Ryan Garcia's first fight since that knockout loss. And he's fighting a threat. I know Oscar Duarte is moving up, but Ryan really has to make a statement. So to me, it just seems like, you want that attention that maybe Derrick is not prepared to give you because he's already, training someone else for a fight. So I hear you though. I mean, Ben Davison and Derrick James, it's like night and day as far as what they're going to teach you. So I definitely feel you on that.
Yeah,
Jay,
I agree 100% with you, Jake. As far as I think it was more about the convenience with DJ being here, helping out Ryan so much, and so much been going back and forth. I mean, he just got done with Charlo, September, and now he's with Ryan and everything. So with AJ having this fight here, you want to make sure you try to give him his all, because I know AJ is going to want the full attention. Otto Wallin is not Deontay Wilder, but he's no one you can really sleep on at heavyweight. But I think after this fight here, we'll get to see the full, DJ and AJ, how that works out. Maybe not the full, because especially if Spence and a Bud fight is announced, then that might hinder AJ a little bit. But I don't see AJ and Wilder fighting probably until like April anyway.
Hey, Jay, we got a question in the chat. Santos, what's going on with your fam? He says, what does Jake think about the heavyweight division going into 2024? AJ, Wilder, Fury, Usyk, and now Francis in the mix.
Man, I keep, I had a joke, on our group email at Boxing Scene, because we were talking about the WBC and all going on. I told him all the stories that was, I was planning, and then I saw that the WBC ranked Francis Ngannou. I said, look, I'm the last guy on the site who is not going to write it. I respect Ngannou getting his paid. I just can't see his name anymore. And I was even joking with other media members, like, we actually went a full news cycle. It was, because we post 15 stories at a time on our website. We actually went one full cycle where Ngannou's name did not appear on our page. And that was it. Then there was like 3 stories in a row. It's like, his name is like, it's like we have to run a story every 2 hours, or else, they're not going to release the hostages, man. It's like, I guess. I don't know if I'm ready to throw him in the mix yet. I think he's going to still, I respect the hell out of what he did, in the fight with Tyson Fury. I don't know if he's going to just fight anyone next. He's going to he got paid a lot of money for that fight. He's going to have to get paid a lot of money. It's not like he's going to go in there and fight, Martin Bacoli next or whatever, for chump change. He's going to want to get another very high 7, maybe, you know, somewhere in the 8 figures, you know, to get back in, you know, into the ring. So I don't know if I include him in that mix yet. I will say, for all the money that's being invested, I'm not crazy about, you know, these fights being buried in Saudi Arabia, because we see it so many times. It's out of sight, out of mind. But if these guys are getting paid and now they're willing to fight each other, then I'm actually more optimistic about the future of the heavyweight division in 2024, especially since at least it's on the schedule that we're getting the undisputed heavyweight championship. I know a lot of people are still like, Tyson Fury has 3 months to find a way to completely screw that up in typical Tyson Fury fashion. I get it. I hear you. So it's definitely wait and see all the way until February 17th. If that doesn't happen, then we're getting the first undisputed heavyweight championship of the 21st century. So there's definitely great reason to be, you know, feel very positive about the heavyweight division. I know they keep talking to that, you know, this Joshua Otto Wallin fight is kind of an IBF, you know, the winner could fight Hrgovic if Usyk gets stripped. I refuse to believe that the Saudis would go forward with all the money they're spending on December 23rd if a deal is not already in place, that if AJ and Deontay Wilder win, that they absolutely fight each other next. This show, this December 20th, has to lead to that. I cannot believe that there's any other scenario, because if AJ goes and fights, you know, Hrgovic for a vacant title, what do you do with Deontay Wilder at that point? So I refuse to believe that the Saudis haven't already told everyone involved, you guys win, you're fighting each other. I've even heard rumors that they could be fighting each other twice, that, you know, it's like a 2-fight deal between them. So, you know, that they've all signed like 3-fight deals or whatever. That'll remain to be seen. But for me, if Fury, or I guess Usyk to a lesser degree, doesn't find a way to screw up Undisputed and we finally get Joshua Wilder, and quite honestly, I'm more interested in Joshua Wilder. That's the fight I've always wanted to see. I think a lot of people who just love that, you know, still love heavyweights or whatever, that's the fight. You know, they care more about that fight than no matter what's at stake in any other fight. So, but if we get both of those in 2024, heavyweight division is on and popping.
Finally.
I will say this too. Other people have brought it up. I'm not taking credit for this. Any heavyweight who's not a part of this, you completely missed out. So they're a heavyweight. Like I'm going to throw Andy Ruiz's name out there. He's been screaming for, you know, if he couldn't find a way to get that Saudi bag, then that's on him, man. I don't know what's in store for a guy like him in 2024.
Facts.
You know, I don't think he's going to get that money to go fight Jaron Ennis.
Yeah, he hasn't fought since he fought Luis Ortiz?
Luis Ortiz, yeah. I was at that show last September, and I felt like that was a death sentence for like so many guys on the card. It's like so many guys on that card either haven't fought since then or they haven't won since then. So, but him and Ortiz both haven't fought. I couldn't believe like someone like Luis Ortiz wasn't jumping in the mix either. So, like I said, if you're not part of this show, you got to give up on that. You know, nobody wants to fight me, man. It's like you just don't want to fight for the money that's being offered.
Hey, we got a question from our one of our very special people that follow our channel. My favorite lender, Jerry. Jake, could it be possible that we just saw the two most skilled boxers at 135 fight to a stalemate? You heard it first. You heard it here first. The two most avoided fought.
To say that, are we saying that Edwin de los Santos is the second most skilled fighter in the lightweight division? Said differently.
I don't know how to answer that. Said differently. Said differently. He wants you to discredit Gervonta Davis.
Exactly.
There's no way. I don't even know what to say to a comment like that.
You'll hear from Jerry again today. He's one of the more interesting and entertaining people that follow our channel. I love Jerry, though. I love him. And Jerry, thank you for the $5.
Challenge, that one is yeah. I don't know.
All right, Jake. One question that I had before we go down the list of things that we had that we wanted to cover today. Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. We saw Terence Crawford say that things are still somewhat up in the air, but as far as he knows, that is the next fight for him. Have you heard anything else in regards to where that fight stands? I know it was a question of whether it's going to be at 47 or 54. People have tried to debunk that Terence Crawford really is saying that it's supposed to be at 47 due to the contract because, he wants additional money so that it can be at 154 pounds, which would not be surprising to me whatsoever. And we were one of the first people that put it out there that we heard that Terence Crawford was actually trying to have it at 147 and trying to negotiate his way into a bigger split. Not only that, we heard him mention that, part of the challenge with moving forward with the fight is that Showtime has just announced that they're not going to be in boxing any longer. So that is a part of the holdup, which I would call BS on that. Just my personal opinion. I have no knowledge of it whatsoever. But the reason why I feel that way is that it would be gross negligence if PBC did not already have a deal in place and knowing where they're going today. So that should not be a holdup in terms of a rematch with Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. So any additional information, or what are your thoughts on that?
So I don't have any additional information. I keep getting asked about like what's going on with PBC, and like I've spent all year wondering what's been going on with PBC, knowing that like we all saw the writing on the wall that Showtime's schedule just kind of they've always been steady matchups, but the like as far as like sex appeal, it's just dramatically declined to where the writing was on the wall that eventually, they were going to get shut down and sent packing. So if we saw it, Al Heyman had to have seen it. He's smarter than everyone in the sport, regardless of what you want to argue about. What he's done on any other platform, if you meet, anyone who meets Al Heyman or meets the people that are around Al Heyman, he knows what's going on. He's not going to just sit there, wait for this deal to fall apart, and then, oh shit, what do I do next?
Facts.
So it seems like Amazon is going to play a role. I don't see them spending money on the sport. I know there was a rumor that Netflix wants to get involved. I don't see that. Netflix, it seems like every year they're always talking about they're going to pick up the NFL, they're going to pick up NBA, whatever. I just don't think they want to spend that much money on live sports. So I don't know if they're in the mix. I was on a couple other podcasts. I know Warner, whatever it is, Max, that platform, they want to have like a premium sports. I think they already have it actually. They want to add, sports to their portfolio. I don't think boxing would be the driving force, but that would be a way for HBO to make its way back into the sport. Anyone who was around when, Heyman was no longer, well, I guess when HBO decided they weren't doing business with Heyman, they're not part of that anymore. So it's like a whole new team over there. I know Al still has friends on that side. I would love to see that. I don't know if those conversations are in place. I don't know if that's a possibility. I think that would be like, if they're going to have Amazon, distribute pay-per-views, while they find that next deal or whatever, or if that deal is already in place. I think that would be huge for the sport if, any form of HBO can get back into the mix. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we need Jim Lampley and Larry Merchant and that whole team back, whatever. I think just, like I said, because I've always said, once they bowed out of the sport in 2018, Showtime should have been in a position to pick up, the mantle and really be the leader of the sport. And I think if Steven Espinoza had his way, they would have been. But PBC at that time, they had to deal with Showtime. They had to deal with Fox. They split. DAZN was just coming on, and 5 years later, look, they're putting out the most content, but they're not capable of running the sport. So I think HBO finding a way, just with their reputation, HBO Max, I should say. I think that would be huge if that is a plan for PBC. But I'm with you. I think Al already knows either what is going to happen or what he wants to happen. He's just not going to tell anyone until it happens, and that's the way it should be. We shouldn't be involved on the ground level. I found it very weird that leak even came out that they were talking to Netflix. That told me that it's not a real possibility. I think they just kind of, put that out there just to keep people talking kind of as a red herring. So I do think that, like I said, it's going to be Amazon, distributing pay-per-views until we get this big reveal of what that next deal is. Now, getting all the way back to Crawford Spence, you want to hold a fight like that if you know that, pay-per-view is going to be a big part of what you're going to have to do in 2024. You want Crawford Spence 2. You want Tank's next fight. You want Canelo Benavidez. You want these big, you're not going to get away with, look, all due respect to what's going on next weekend. I respect the lineup, but you're not going to get a Benavidez Andrade. That's not going to drive, what you need to accomplish in 2024, especially without someone like Showtime, producing the event. Because if Amazon is just distributing it, they're not going to spend all this money to, promote the event either. That's going to kind of be on you. So you need these big highlight events, to really drive that. So Bud already gave up a belt, instead of fighting Boots, and that's on them. Like a lot of the media, they got self-righteous with it, say, oh, the sanctioned bodies, they don't do what's good for the sport. The IBF told Bud, look, this is what's next. They waited up until like a day before it was supposed to go to Perspin and say, well, we're kind of bound to the Spence rematch, so, we need more time. And the IBF is like, well, that's a violation of our rules. They should have said it at the beginning of talks, not, wait 30 days, not even negotiate with Boots, and then go to the IBF with that. That should have been right at the very beginning, and then go to Boots and try to figure out a way to make it all work. We can keep all the belts. But this happens every time someone is undisputed. they don't stay undisputed for very long unless they actually defend their titles. Devin Haney, he defended his title twice and still got stripped of the WBC title because he wouldn't fight Shakur next. So it's just something that eventually happens. But I do believe we're gonna. At one point I was like, okay, maybe this is really gonna die, and it was Bud's own camp that kind of put it out there. They said, well, the fight's gonna happen at 147. We really want to fight Charlo. We want to fight Tim Tszyu, whatever. There's a part of me that still thinks Bud will fight Tim Tszyu, especially since he has that ability to go, right up to 154, and force his super champion status. But for what he's already had to give up and the fact that he has nothing going on at the moment, it tells me that once PBC has everything in place to where they can reveal what's going to happen in 2024, we'll see that rematch. I think, for whatever money, Bud's going to make more money for that fight than any other. So he knows that as well.
I've been saying that for a very long time, that the only fight that's out there for him right now is Spence. He's not going to get the Canelo Alvarez fight. Nobody really knows Jermell Charlo's name, and he didn't have a good account for himself against Canelo Alvarez. So I just see the Spence fight is going to be the fight that happens next. Now, Jake, you did segue into a really interesting topic. We just did a video on this. It's called The Truth Behind Jaron Ennis taking the IBF route. And I have an opinion on this. Some of it is an opinion. Some of it is based off of, what we saw. And then other things you're just going to draw conclusions from, right? Because we're not close enough to the situation to actually say that one thing is a fact and another thing is false. But they just stripped him of the IBF title. And we saw Bud on Twitter talking about Jaron Ennis and saying that Jaron Ennis had 2 opportunities to fight him. I would argue that Jaron Ennis has not had an opportunity to fight Terence Crawford whatsoever at any point, because I just feel that, number one, when you start talking about the IBF versus the WBO route, if you actually go and do the research, you'll know that Sean Porter was his mandatory, that they forced that mandatory for Sean Porter versus Terence Crawford. And once that fight happens, according to Paco, I can't think of his last name right now, but he's the president of the WBO. He basically said that Terence Crawford, although this is not listed in their rules, had 18 months to defend his title against his next mandatory, which means that even if Jaron Ennis had petitioned the WBO to get the opportunity to become his mandatory, he wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to fight him until April of 2023, because that would have been 18 months later. He had the opportunity, or the opportunity was presented to him by the IBF, to fight Castillo Clayton in April of 2022. So he took the route that was quickest to the title. So it's very simple. I don't know why people find it so very hard to understand that. In my opinion, you may see it differently, Jake. And then the whole BLK Prime situation, I find that to be fishy just based off of some of the comments from Bozy Ennis in regards to BLK Prime and their desire for Jaron Ennis to sign with them. I don't know why Jaron Ennis would ever sign with BLK Prime. We've seen that they haven't done anything in the sport since the Terence Crawford fight. So just want to pause there, Jake, and give you the opportunity to comment on that.
So I think Steven Espinoza even commented on it too at the time when Boots was fighting for the interim title. I respect the decision that Boots' team made, that they knew they were not going to get a shot at the title directly. So the next best thing is to protect yourself. Okay, why go fight someone, wait for the title to become vacant, and then have to go fight for that vacant title again? So I get that's why a lot of people even turn down eliminators and these four-man tournaments. It's like, why wait it out when you know the belt's going to become available? So to your point, he already beat Castillo Clayton. He was the mandatory. And I have a theory too, like for people screaming, well, how come the IBF never enforced mandatory against Errol Spence? I can get to that if I have time. But he beat Castillo Clayton. The next step should have been to fight for the title. Last year, obviously, we all knew, Spence was trying to get the Terence Crawford fight. Terence said, he got it to a certain point, then he went the BLK Prime route for that one fight. And then once it came time for, to reset the clock, Boots' team was like, okay, well, now we know, okay, Spence, he put it out there that he still wanted it undisputed. The sanctioning bodies were willing to let that fight either happen or completely die, but nothing was going to be ordered in the meantime. So Boots protected himself, fought for the interim title. I think deep down, and again, this is the case with just about every single fighter, or at least 9 out of 10, if not 95 out of 100. If it's up to the fighters, they're gonna want to fight. I think deep down, if you tell Boots, here's the direct path to go fight Terence Crawford, he's gonna run to it. Here's the direct path to go fight Errol Spence, Boots is gonna snatch it up. Now, I'm not saying his team didn't aggressively pursue those fights. I think I give his team credit for seeing the writing on the wall, knowing that those fights weren't going to come to him. So yeah, now you want to call him the email champ or whatever, that's fine. My greater concern is what is next for him. Yeah, you have the title. Now you kind of have to depend on the IBF to order your next fight. Those rankings are not very sexy. So, I don't have it in front of me, but I know like Ivan Rollo was up there. Like even if it's someone like Cody Crowley, who's actually waiting out the WBC route, there's not a lot of great options for him. And with Showtime going out of business, you're not a PBC fighter. You've been fighting PBC guys, but you're not signed to them. You're no longer a priority to anyone. So now he's going to have to sign with someone. So I'm really concerned about, what's next for him. Yeah, you have this belt, but, like Janabek has a belt. But, nobody cares about Janabek. Even when he unified, he's a unified champ. People still don't care about him. Boots has more appeal, but he's kind of a man without a country right now. So I really want to see what's going to happen to him in 2024. I'm not as concerned with the PBC guys, especially if they're willing to wait out, whatever Al has in store for them. For a guy like Boots, until he signs with them or he signs with Top Rank or he signs with Matchroom or, Golden Boy, whatever move he makes, I honestly don't know what's next for him. Congrats, you got this belt, but what are you going to do with it? As far as the mandatory stuff goes, I actually have this own timeline that I had written out. I was going to write a story on it, but I decided not to. But for everyone screaming, well, how come the IBF was so quick to order Terence Crawford's mandatory? When it came time for Spence for a mandatory to be ordered, the WBC made it very clear last year that they were first in line. Now, I think it's kind of crappy that, they ordered their mandatory. It was Keith Thurman. That fight was supposed to happen. And then I don't know if it was Spence or however it was communicated to Thurman's team that they said if the fight was going to happen, it was going to happen above the weight. It's like that should have started the clock for the next mandatory to be ordered. But that fight just never happened at all because then, Errol Spence decided, well, I want to fight Undisputed instead. I just don't want to fight Keith Thurman at all. I don't really and not that he's afraid of them. I just feel like, Errol always had it deep down. I'm never going to give this guy a shot because he never gave me a shot. But there was never really that opportunity for the IBF to be ordered. So people could scream, all they want. But the WBC was ordered. That died. To your point, Bud already made his WBO mandatory against Sean Porter. And the clarification on the 18-month, that's for super champions. They have longer than everyone else to make their mandatories. So that's why he had, the extra 6 months to make a mandatory. So Stanionis was already supposed to be committed with the WBA. That left the IBF. That's why that fight was ordered, for Bud. And the IBF, like I said, their rules don't honor rematch clauses. All 4 sanctioned bodies should have that rule, but, some of them forgive it, for the sake of the sport. But, the IBF, they're the ones that are sticklers for their rules. So that's why that mandatory was ordered. I hope that answered your question. I know we kind of got a little bit off track, but.
No. It definitely did. I want to address somebody in the comment section. The Devil in the Details said, AM Sports Media, December 10, 2022 was a direct route to Bud. What the F? The Devil in the Details. Jaron Ennis was never ranked number 1 by the WBO. Therefore, your statement that there was a direct route to Bud Crawford is inaccurate. He was never number 1. There was never a direct route. What are you talking about? Like, I just don't understand some of these statements. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I get that. The only thing I will say, now it was a voluntary defense at this point. Bud claimed that they fought David Benavidez because he was the first one in the rankings that answered the call. And Boots and his team even called that out. They said, well, you never called us. And Boots was ranked higher than Benavidez, but it wasn't mandatory. So I will say that Boots' argument is that, we could have fought him. You never called us. That is accurate. But no, he was not the mandatory. Bud was not, he was not obligated to fight Boots at that point. I would have loved that. But, if you're going on a new platform like that, there's no way in hell you're going to fight, especially if Boots is signed to Showtime as it is.
Exactly. You're never going to fight on that platform. But not only that, he's saying direct route. When we were talking about direct route in the previous comments, it was more so talking about the fact that the sanctioning bodies would have ranked you as a mandatory, as a direct route to Crawford. There was no direct route, quote unquote. So John Mack says, and John, thank you for the $5. Crawford Boots for undisputed, 3 times undisputed. That's an option if he gets past Errol Spence. That is an option.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I said, if for whatever reason the Errol Spence rematch is not going to happen, that should be the next fight. Unless, as I've been mentioning, I still feel like he's going to fight Tim Tszyu for a 4th divisional title. To me, that's a fight that's always out there, though. I'd rather see him go fight Boots, but I don't think that's going to be part of the rotation in 2024. And especially if they feel spiteful about it, maybe Bud will be like, well, I was already undisputed. Why do I need to go do that again? I'll go concentrate on becoming a 4th division champ.
Or avoid a young lion. I'm not even knocking Crawford if he doesn't want that fight. Like I'm 36.
He's earned it.
Yeah, 36 years old. This dude is young, strong. You got to get up out of the division, though. Like, for me personally, you can't stay in the division and say, I'm just going to stay in the division. I'm not going to fight him. No. You got to get out of the division. Now, as long as you get out of the division, I don't feel that you're ducking. You're 36 years old. There's no reason for you to get in the ring with that young lion. I can accept that, but I cannot accept Terence Crawford fans or Terence Crawford, if he were to say this, that, he could stay at 147 pounds and just kind of do what it is that he wills. That doesn't work for me. All right.
And I've said this too. I'm sorry, not to get too far, but I said this, I think, the first show I was on here after the Crawford Spence fight, that when they fight their rematch, and especially if it takes place at 154, I refuse to believe that nothing will be at stake. I could see Jermell giving up at least one more title, especially like wherever those two are ranked, or wherever Spence is ranked at 154. I could see whether it's the WBC or the WBA belt being made available if and when they do fight. So if that fight doesn't necessarily take place at 147, if Bud is compensated enough to take the fight at 154, I think one of those belts will be at stake.
That's an interesting thought. All right, Jay, we opened up the phone lines. I know we got a number of different topics, but of course, man, when Jake is on here, we got to milk him for as much information as we can. So the phone lines are open, guys. If you want to call in, ask Jake questions, or just get your thoughts off, please call in to the phone line 404. I can't see the rest of it, but I'm sure you guys can. All right. So Jay, what direction do you want to go in now?
Yeah, I just want to address whatever the detail says. BLK offered to fight the Boots.
Okay, hold on, real quick. We got 137 people in the building. Oh God, the people already called in. Hold on 1 second, caller. We got 137 people in the building, 54 likes. Guys, if you get the opportunity, please smash that like button so other people can find this content. And if you're new to the channel, this is AM Sports Media, the Angry Man Podcast. We are always dropping boxing and other sports related content, and we can always get folks like Jake on here who are much smarter than us to give you all the details. So real quick, devil in the details. Tell me, what did they offer Jaron Ennis? Exactly what it was that they offered him, because I don't think they offered him anything. All they did was do a quick phone call. Yeah. We got FSU. Go ahead.
I'm gonna offer your vehicle to Jake to drive. That's cool.
What's going on, guys?
What's going on, Walt?
Yo, I'm still hurting from last night, but
I understand.
I just wanted to say thanks, Jake, for coming on. I watched last time you were on, man. You know, a lot of good input. But I just want to say it doesn't matter what you say to the Crawford fans. They're gonna make up whatever they make up for narrative. But I agree with you, Greg, that he deserves, if he goes to 154, he deserves to do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
But the thing with the Shakur fight, here's what I'm saying, is the silver lining to that fight, y'all, because Devin Haney's fighting Regis Prograis, and I was thinking that if Regis lands something to the body early, that Devin was going to fight like Regis the rest of the fight. But now I think Devin's going to mix it up so he doesn't look like just jab, get away. So I think this might be a better fight, because if Regis connects with one of them left hands that Loma did, this could be a bad night for Devin Haney.
Yeah, I understand.
What do y'all think about that?
So you're basically saying that because of the performance from Shakur Stevenson, specifically Devin Haney. Because
him and Devin are always competing so much that Devin knows Regis is the hottest puncher he's fought. So he's going to use the ring and a jab to keep the distance. But I'm saying, seeing that fight, I'm thinking Devin's going to mix it up more, because he's not going to want people saying the same thing about him that they said about Shakur.
I can see that. I can see him mixing it up a little bit more, because he's already been on social media talking about he's a bum and that he should have only offered him 10%. So it's going to be very hard for him to go in there and fight a similar fight when he just made that comment. So I can see that.
And me, when I was watching that fight, I was by the 10th round, I was thinking this, because I'm saying, I looked at Devin and Regis. Devin is not going to want it, because he got hit by Lenoris. Regis hits hard in Lenoris. So if he connects good to the body early or something, Devin's going to fight defensively. So he's going to have in the back of his mind that he can't beat Shakur again on that night. So I think it might make for a more entertaining fight.
Possibly. You guys have any
So
thoughts
y'all
on
have a
that?
good day. I just wanted to get that in because I'm still in mourning from what happened last night from Florida State. You know, Greg, Jason, your season's over, but it's, it still hurts. Y'all have a great day,
I
though.
be trying to be nice to you, man. I be trying to be nice to you. You keep poking me, man.
Appreciate you for calling in, Walt. And I cried before the show, just so you're aware.
Yeah, I was hurting, bro.
I got it on tape. I'm a blackmail him next if you don't give Jake the car.
Appreciate you for
All right,
calling
take
in,
care,
Walt.
y'all.
All right, later.
Excellent. No, I'm glad he brought up the Linares fight because I feel like Devin Haney already lived that part of his career. I think he's beyond that now. He got criticized just for the way after he got tagged late in the fight against Linares, for the way he fought I think it was like the remaining 2 rounds. And, he lived with it. And he acknowledged, people said, they said what I said. He went right back. He got hurt a couple of times against Jojo Diaz, or he got hit. I don't know if he got necessarily hurt, but he had opportunities in that fight against Jojo Diaz, and I was ringside for that, where he could have fought the same way. He could have stunk it out. That was, I thought, a very entertaining performance, what Devin Haney put on in the Jojo Diaz fight. To me, that was like the night where he really turned the corner in his career. Because then he took the risk. He went to Australia, beat George Kambosos' fight over there. And then we saw what we saw against Lomachenko, who was one of the best fights of 2023. So I think Devin is beyond that point where he's going to, just run, and he's never really done that before. I mean, there's been nights where once he'd be a puncher and he decided to be a boxer instead. But I know, I was ringside when he fought Gamboa. That was just a completely forgettable night. But, we schooled him. But I don't think he's going to do well against Regis Pro, especially, this is his first fight in his in his birth town. This is like a new audience. It's selling really, really well. But I think he's going to want to build an audience and an opportunity, especially, with Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, they're behind him. So I think there's an opportunity for him to, really, develop a new fan base. This is going to be like Devin Haney territory. So I think he's going to want to go out and make a statement. I don't know if the Shakur fight is necessarily going to affect him, but he's certainly not going to replicate that. But I don't know if that's already in Devin's. I think, like I said, Devin, everything he's learned going into 2022, I think his career is already, we're seeing this is the version of Devin Haney that we're going to see moving forward.
I agree. 718, you in the building with the Angry Man Podcast. What's going on with you, fam?
Yeah, what's good, fam? I just want to salute you guys. I'm the devil in the details.
Devil in the details. What's going on, man? What's happening?
Yeah. We got to chop this up, my guy. I'm just saying this as a boxing fan, right? I grew up in a boxing house and everything, and I'm gonna say this: when I went over the rules, the IBF, and Jake can possibly co-sign this or dispute it. The IBF rules state that the new champion has 6 months. IBF informed, if I'm not correct, between 35 and 45 days after Bud won, and then Bud, they gave him 30 days to respond or whatever. If y'all say that it took Bud up to 30 days or 29 days to respond, all right, fine. I don't know that. I wasn't in the room. I was just reading reports. Mm-hmm. But basically what I'm saying is that the new champion had 6 months. Bud was stripped in 90 days. That's unfair when it comes down to, the IBF rules specifically say a mandatory must be satisfied every 9 months. Satisfied, and they don't give a shit. Excuse my language. They don't care about contracts where you're locked into a rematch and things like that. Granted, the heavyweight division is different, but I would like to ask Jake, when in the 40-year history of the IBF did the IBF have a interim champion? That's just my first question.
Yeah, so I know they're apprehensive about using that. They offer it when a champion is hurt or they know the belt is going to be unavailable. I disagreed with their decision that they were willing to make one available for Hrgovic. They felt like that was the only way he can get relevant fights, and you're seeing who he's fighting in December, and I I kind of hear what you're saying about the whole the problem with the way Crawford's team handled it. And I said this before, that I felt like they should have informed the IBF in the beginning. This is the situation they're in, and then use the rest of that 30-day period to either negotiate with Boots to try to push the fight out where, okay, if we're not fighting Errol Spence next, then either fight Boots or revisit the conversation. The fact that they went that far and then 2 days before the deadline, the problem was they told the IBF they were unavailable. Not that they were locked into the rematch. They let them know, look, you ordered this fight. We're unavailable to honor this fight. That's why the IBF stripped them. I'm not necessarily in favor of fighters being stripped of titles, but if the sanctioning body sees a situation where the belt is going to be held ransom, and you don't even know if he's going to defend the title in the next fight against Spence, because as we've been saying, it could take place at 154. I don't agree with any fighter being stripped, but I don't dispute the reasons why the IBF did what they did. And I also have a timeline as to what, everyone's saying, why wasn't Spence ordered to fight his mandatory? He was told to, but there were different steps taken as to why Spence was able to. I don't agree with Spence being able to hold on to the titles as long as to me, he kind of held them hostage. But, the fighters that were involved, they, Spence's team, PBC, whatever, found a way to convince the mandatories to kind of stand down. But go ahead, ask your next question. I'm sorry.
All right. I mean, those were great answers. I agree, but kind of disagree. But it's respectable. I can live with that. I'm coming from you being in a business like that and having the reputation that you have.
Thank you.
Basically, my next question, which I'm kind of brain farting on, is dealing with Crawford versus Boots. Crawford is a division lineal champion, 2-division undisputed champion. Where can the narrative be said and actually have legitimacy that Crawford has been avoiding this fight? And just to segue back to what you said earlier, just remember my question. It would be, even if they gave Bud 30 days to respond, he did respond within the allotted time based on how they deal with it. The IBF could have given Bud time to negotiate the fight and say, okay, after this Spence fight, whether this fight actually happens or not, then I'll be glad to fight you and defend this title. I've seen other sanctioning bodies hold up a mandatory for those same reasons, and or offer, the winner of the rematch to guarantee in writing, winner of that fight gets Boots his first in line, or pay Boots step aside money with that same type of thing involved, just to go from 0 to 100 and strip. But it's, I agree with you. It's foul. It does leave a disdain on many fighters, and many boxing fans' mouth, because at the end of the day, it negates Errol Spence of getting the proper rematch that he asked for. Now we're just talking about a unified fight, or a fight that's just a fight between Bud and Spence. You know what I'm saying? It's not the real rematch for Undisputed, where all the belts was on the line because one fighter was stripped of the belts. So, being a little long-winded, there's a question in there, and if not, I do apologize.
No, I totally get what you're saying. I think, you made an interesting point that since if the fight takes place at 147, which I don't think it's going to, then he's being cheated out of the chance to once again fight for the Undisputed. I would flip that around and say, look, to me, my understanding was with that rematch clause, we should be looking at a rematch in December. So if Spence knew he wasn't in a position to immediately fight Crawford, or wasn't at a point where they didn't have those details worked out, let him go fight Boots, and then you go fight the winner for the Undisputed. I don't think that's a priority for Spence. I think the priority for Spence was I want to run it back with Bud whenever it takes place. So those are the consequences that come with it. And I just want to make sure I have my facts straight. I'm going to read exactly what the IBF told me. On August 25th, the IBF sent a letter to TBC Promotions, Terence Crawford Promotions, directing Terence Crawford to begin negotiations with interim champion Jaron Ennis. Negotiations were to be concluded by September 24th. On September 22nd, the IBF received an email from Harrison Whitman, representing Crawford, indicating that the agreement for the Spence versus Crawford bout contains an immediate rematch provision, which Errol Spence has exercised. This is the important part. As such, Terence Crawford is unable to engage in negotiations with Jaron Ennis. So that means for 28 days, no conversation took place whatsoever. Not only that, even in the remaining 2 days, they let the IBF know, not only are we not available to fight Boots, we're not going to talk to Boots. That killed the fight. That's the reason why Bud got stripped. That could have been worded a lot differently on Terence Crawford's team's part. And again, I felt like once they got the letter on August 25th, they should have let the IBF know, hey, we have this rematch clause. We're locked into it. If the IBF comes back and says, well, you got until September 24th to figure that shit out, then you go back and talk to Boots. And then all that step-aside stuff comes into play. And again, if Boots was signed to PBC, this would have been easier because that's what happened with, Kudratillo. He was the IBF mandatory for however long. PBC got to him and eventually, convinced him to stand down because he had an opportunity to fight for an interim title. He couldn't get a VC. He was supposed to fight Sergey Lipinets. Again, I have this whole timeline mapped out. Then when he signed with PBC, they convinced him, okay, please stand down. We're trying to figure out what's going on with Spence. He just fought, Danny Garcia. Then he, had the whole thing. He was supposed to fight Manny Pacquiao, had the eye injury, had to sit out the rest of 2021. Then came back. Then they had to get the WBA involved to get Stanionis to stand down. So we go for the unify. So that was the whole reason why the sanctioning bodies, were incentivized to stand down because their mandatories agreed to it, begrudgingly or otherwise. Yeah. They accepted whatever step-aside package came with it. Boots was never afforded that opportunity, because Crawford's team never negotiated with them. So once it came time for the IBF to order that, man, I'm with you. If there's an opportunity for Undisputed to take place, you satisfy everyone involved. But you have to have the conversation. Boots can't just, whatever, because some random, Twitter, guy says, oh, I want to see Undisputed, so you should stand down for the good of the sport. Boots has no reason to do that. His team wants to fight for the Undisputed. Why doesn't he have the right to go fight for the Undisputed Championship? He's next in line. Yeah. So have that conversation with him. Break him off.
I'm sorry.
But nobody had that conversation with him. So that's the whole, again, I felt like that situation, however unfair you think it was that, but not you, I'm saying fans in general think it was that Bud was immediately ordered to go fight him, that situation could have handled a lot better.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000% where some blame can be placed on Crawford's team because his lawyers, the verbiage, his lawyer or representative or whoever got back to the IBF should have a better understanding of contractual law and how to word things. To just simply get back and make it seem as though in writing that, we're not even interested in talking to this guy. Yeah, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot and then say, you know what, I'm going to run the New York Marathon. So I get that part and I agree with you 1,000%. And this is where I myself looked at it. And when I read that part that you read, I was like, see, you gave them, you kind of gave a really good, Harvard law student a way to poke a hole in that balloon that you're trying to inflate right there, and give them an actual reason for actually stripping you. If you would have just said, listen, just give us another 30 days, or can we get an extension to actually reach out to Boots Camp, because we were trying to go back and see what Errol Spence wanted to do, and that took some time because he's been traveling and it's been hard to get in touch with him. Whatever BS you could have came up with just to give yourself time to say, listen, this was the reason for our delay. This is our solution. Are you on board with this? Yes or no? And then X, Y, and Z could have happened. But that's where I'm going to land a plane. Basically, I just wanted to give these guys, AM Boxing, the opportunity to hear me, hear my common sense, hear, somewhat of my experience. So if we do have a conversation, which I would like to have with them more in depth about this topic, they'll understand that I'm coming with nothing but respect, nothing but boxing knowledge. Can have your opinion. I'm a person that just believes I can't argue a man's opinion because that's his opinion. Whether it's based on fact or not, that's the part I can argue. So It was great talking to you guys. Great talking to you, Jake. And I'm going to land this plane. You guys have a great one.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you, man. Excellent call. All right, man. Hold on. 206. Just give us one quick second before we take your call. So Jake, what I heard there was that Terence Crawford had the opportunity to inform the IBF that he was still trying to negotiate with Errol Spence, and that he was open to the idea of fighting Jaron Ennis, but he still was contractually obligated to Errol Spence, and he probably would have held on to his title. That's what I just held. That's what I just heard. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, basically. To me, like I said, the steps that were taken, it seemed like, Bud's team, not necessarily Bud, they wanted their cake and eated it too. And the IBF said no. It's either going to be one or the other. And look, Bud, he deserves, to do whatever he wants. He outlasted the industry to get to where he is now. Still undefeated, pound for pound #1.
Yep.
Slam dunk Hall of Famer, making, career life-changing money for the rest of his career. He's earned every bit of this. At the same time, you can't make up the rules. So some guys get away with it, some guys don't. But
there you go.
Not at that point. Right.
All right. We got the 206 in the building. 206, what's going on with you, fam?
What's good with you, Jason? Greg, it's your boy Band-Up.
Band-Up's in the building. Them Huskies are going down very, very soon.
No, we ain't, and that's where I'm going to start off. Jake, tell these guys, I hope you can give some wisdom to these two men. Tell these guys that my Huskies is for real. We going all the way. Is you with me, Jake?
If you say all the way means like you're going all the way to the Pac-12 championship, then I 100% agree with you.
No, we're going all the way to the championship. We're taking everything.
Nah,
we're taking everything.
Not gonna happen. But go ahead, man.
Bro, I'm gonna make you a believer. I'm gonna have to make you a believer, man. We're going to make you a believer. We ain't playing up here. Seattle's not playing with you. You're not playing with nobody. We ain't playing. All right, but I'm gonna let the Bud Crawford stuff sit. I'm gonna let that sit and where that's at. I want to talk about the Shakur thing. I wasn't mad at Shakur at his performance. Now, do I think that he didn't, throw that left hand like he should have? Yes. But in my eyes, I look at it like he showed everybody how to win a fight with one hand. You know what I mean? And at the same time, his opponent was talking all that smack that he was going to do all this and do all that before the fight, and he didn't make Shakur look weak at all either. So it wasn't all on Shakur, in my opinion. So I don't know why everybody's going so hard on Shakur for that. I mean, Mayweather has played defensive fights. Done defensive fights. Yeah, he's probably a little more active with his hands. But he's played. He's been in fights where he was predominantly, defensive on the defensive end. I don't think Shakur did what Charlo did. You know what I mean? Charlo actually got hit and was like, "I'm gonna stay away." I don't think Shakur really didn't want to felt something that he couldn't get rid of, because right after the fight they were like, "Oh, did De Los Santos do anything to get you out your game?" He's like, "Nah, he didn't do anything." He was like, "I knew going into the fight that it was going to be a little different." So I think he got something that's underlying he ain't going to come out and say as well. But I also don't think it was all bad. You know what I mean? And I got a question. My question is, do you think it will really hurt his pay-per-view numbers going forward?
Let me jump in and answer that real quick. So number one, if you know that you're going into a fight with an injury, why are you, prior to the fight, the press conference, the weigh-in, talking about how badly you're going to whoop his ass?
Building up the fight.
No, it's not a pay-per-view fight. He got guaranteed money. This is on ESPN, so there's nothing really to build up. You're not incentivized to sell something to that degree. So you could say everything you want to say up under the sun, but why are you talking in a way would suggest that you're just going to whoop this guy's ass? It's not a pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing wrong with there was nothing wrong with this dude, man. He just had a bad performance. He was scared of the guy's power. He said it after the fight, Jason. Didn't he say something like to the effect of De Los Santos was scared too?
Scared too.
That's what yeah.
So the word "too" implies that he was also scared, right? So no, I don't believe anything was wrong with this guy. And pay-per-view wise, yeah, I think he hurt himself, because why would you get in the ring with him if you were Gervonta Davis? For what? For him to run around the ring all night? That's not going to sell. People are not going to be interested in seeing. Now, people will be interested in seeing Tank no matter what. But at the same time, you want to see Tank in the ring with somebody who you believe that can actually beat him and give him an entertaining fight. Shakur isn't that guy. And Devin has now an excuse not to fight him. It's not entertaining. So, yes, I think he did hurt his marketability with that fight. But, Jay, you guys can go from there.
No, I think he definitely hurt himself. I mean, because he talked so much noise before that. I mean, you're supposed to sell the fight, of course. I don't have no problem with that. But when you get in the fight and you do the exact opposite, and if you knew you were hurt to that degree where you couldn't even throw a punch,
stop talking.
Stop talking. don't say you're gonna do X, Y, Z. Then, man, it's not good. And De Los Santos didn't help it by the way he fought neither. But for Shakur to do all that, and then what gets me even more the fact that Shakur came after the fight and said, "Oh, if you don't like it, don't watch." You know, you can't be a pay-per-view star if you're telling everyone not to watch when you put out a stinker. Just say you had a bad night and leave it at that, dude. Basketball players go 1 for 11 some nights. They come back and they make up for and go 8 for 16 up the next night. So just do that, but don't sit there and just alienate your people that's you're trying to be a pay-per-view star. You're not going to watch you no more. I'm not, unless I want to go to sleep.
I'm going to say even before the bell rang, you know, I mean, look at the ticket sales for that fight. Shakur he can draw in Newark. I get that, you know, drawing 10,000 in Newark can equate, you know, drawing 2,000 or 3,000 in Vegas or whatever, you know, as far as the gate goes. He's not a draw outside of his hometown. His fight with Valdez did well because of the matchup, but nobody cared that Shakur was fighting for a third, you know, divisional title, especially against someone like Edwin de Los Santos, who was never going to sell a single ticket anyway. But that was a dead atmosphere even before very few punches that were thrown. Before, you know, the first round began, it was dead in there. Mark Chinook screamed to basically an empty venue at that point. So, and that was after a banger of a fight between Navarrete and Conceição to get whatever crowd was there warmed up. This is why I respect what Devin Haney is doing. That he's dictating his own terms. And even a guy like O'Shaquie Foster, yeah, I know he just signed with Top Rank, but those guys are figuring out a way to play the game for themselves. Shakur is, I'm not going to say stuck with Top Rank. You know, they've done right by him. He's getting paid well, but he's on a platform that has so far shown they can't drive a pay-per-view. That has hurt his marketability.
Yep.
You know, Tank has been on a path to, you know, financially succeed. So he's always going to dictate the terms. I still feel like at some point we're going to get, you know, Tank and Devin Haney. That's going to be the super fight. You know, maybe Shakur is going to fight either of those guys, but he's not. There's no proof that he has any pay-per-view appeal so far. It's always going to be matchup dependent. So I don't know if it was. I think people forgive a bad performance, but he didn't show that he's a draw even going into the fight.
So do you think he should rematch this one, or where does he go from here? What would put him back into those graces to be something to be reckoned with the pay-per-view?
Not a rematch.
No, did you say rematch?
I'm not gonna cap. Like, all right, so I fell asleep during fights before. Like, I've watched UFC, you know what I mean. I watch, you know what I mean, films, you know what I mean. I watch boxing. I'm not gonna cap. For like 30 seconds, I passed out for a second. I'm not gonna lie to you. And that was like in between the 10th and 11th. I'm like, okay, let me wake my game up to watch this 12. See if he's gonna do something. I'm not gonna cap. That did happen. So you know what I mean. I do, and that fight that was before that was dope. Oh yeah, you were correct with that. They was throwing the bangs in that fight. They had us salivating, and Shakur did leave us kind of sad. But I still feel like he still has a, you know what I mean. He's not all the way done. You know what I mean. You telling the fans isn't good unless you kind of play the villain role. Because I done seen, you know what I mean, people, you know what I mean, say forget the fans, and that makes the fans come even more to see you get beat, and you still keep winning. But I don't think that's the role he's playing. He's not playing the villain role. But you know what I mean. I still think Shakur's in there. I hope he fights either Tank or Haney, because I still think the styles make matchups, and I think he would actually be more. I mean, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say, but I think he'd be more active in the Tank fight. I still believe he would be more active in the Tank fight. I don't think he would have this type of performance in that fight, but that's hard to tell to the other fans. I get your point on that.
Yep. Band up. Anything else you want to share with the people? I'm sorry.
No, that was it. That's all I want to share. You know what I mean? And when we win the whole thing, you know what I mean? And Washington just the only college left, you know what I mean? Standing, I'm gonna call Jason and Greg, and they're going to drop a super chat on me. You did?
I'm gonna drop a super chat on you. It'll be if Washington wins the national championship, I will send you $50.
Oh my God! Yep, and you gonna yep, and I know you gonna have to come the next day in a Husky shirt.
I will come the next day with a Husky shirt, and I'll send you $50.
Yep, that's the deal.
Gotcha. All right, Bando. Appreciate you.
Preacher as always.
All right,
Bando.
David Greg. Salute, y'all.
All right. Later. I'll just send him the $50 I won from Tunnel Vision because he could have sworn he was right.
Give us something because the Huskies gonna lose against Oregon.
All right, hold on real quick, man. 1 second, caller. We got 121 people in the building, 72 likes. If you get the opportunity, please smash that like button or the dislike button if you don't like the content, but make sure you're engaging. And also, if you're new to the channel, this is the Angry Man Podcast and Sports Media. We're always dropping content on a daily basis, so make sure you become a subscriber. And I now have my lender for life in the building. I will not allow him to get my blood pressure up today. Jerry, what's going on with you, fam?
Hello, my friends. Happy Sunday. And obviously, your blood pressure is not going to rise because it's obvious that we got nice guy Greg back. The nerve of Shakur Stevenson continuing with this fight on a last-minute replacement. He should have had a fight that took a year to negotiate, only to find out later that he had a broken rib and couldn't practice, couldn't fight, and that's part of the reason why he lost. That would have been a little better, right? Wouldn't it?
Anyway.
The nerve of him blaming an injury. Oh, God.
I just don't think he was injured.
Oh, okay. Well, Spence was, I'm sure. 100% guaranteed.
He was.
Hey, listen, Jake. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Hey, I'll be honest, I didn't know a whole lot about you. I did some research, and you do have credentials. You seem to be well-rounded. At first, I thought Boxing Scene was the website owned by PBC, but I may be confused with that, if there's some sort of affiliation there. But I am surprised by one thing. I sent in that super chat regarding Edwin de los Santos and Shakur Stevenson. I'm a little surprised of how you're kind of just, I don't know. Do you know who Edwin de los Santos is? I mean, have you seen him fight before?
Yes, I have, several times.
I mean, you're just kind of writing him off, blowing him off, and I don't know. I think that maybe you haven't seen him fight. I think everyone remembers him from the Rajo, the Venezuela fight. But I stand on what I said. I know you kind of laughed it off, but I stand on what I said. Those two fighters that you saw on Thursday night are two of the highest skilled fighters at 135. And you can laugh it off, but I will tell you this. There's a reason why Edwin de los Santos never gets called on by anybody. Anybody. Frank Martin can fight nondescript fighters. We can go down the list. No one ever says, let's fight Edwin de los Santos. Do you know why that is?
Why is that?
Jake.
Are you going to tell me?
What's that?
I thought you were going to tell me. No, I get that.
No, I'm asking you. I mean, because he's obviously not, he's to be laughed at, and he possesses, he's just kind of a middle-of-the-road fighter. Why does he not get any fights, and why doesn't anybody call him out? I mean, Tank lifted Hector Garcia from 130 pounds, and honestly, and I'm going to tell you this, I am of Dominican descent, okay? And I am fully aware of some of these Dominican fighters. A lot of them, eat their way out of competition. They rise and they fall based on their lifestyle. But what I am telling you right now is there's a reason why Edwin de los Santos' phone does not ring. He is the true boogeyman of 135. And maybe now y'all can laugh it off, but we will see. Time will tell. Time will tell. They're going to look back at this, and I'm not giving Shakur Stevenson any excuses. The hand injury, I mean, whatever. Like I said, these fighters that go into these fights injured, if Spence was hurt and he had a cracked rib and couldn't spar for the last 5 weeks, he stole money from his fans, from everybody. Knockout fight 10 days prior because he tore his retina. but then he's going to go into one of the biggest, most anticipated fights in the last 2 decades, and he wasn't 100%. Come on now. I mean, it's ridiculous. But my question to you is, why doesn't Edwin De Los Santos get more fights?
So I've argued this last year. Even under the PBC umbrella, maybe they just knew, okay, we're not going to fight a Samson guy. I was told even that Rayo, like, they accepted the fight, and then he kind of asked after it was done and before the fight, like, wait a minute, he's with Samson. Like, they were apprehensive about it. So I get that. I hate the phrase boogeyman. I really do. I get that, nobody wants to face a puncher like De Los Santos on very short notice. Let me ask you this. Who would you pick between De Los Santos and Moncho Lebron?
And who?
Henry Moncho Lebron.
I couldn't really hear that, but I'm going to tell you right now.
Do you know who Henry Lebron is? Puerto Rican.
He doesn't. He doesn't know who he is.
Since your question, if I know who Edwin De Los Santos is.
Yeah, I just think you kind of dismissed him a little bit, kind of laughed it off that Tank would, and I get. Listen, Tank. I respect Tank's talent. I respect Tank's talent. And I respect. Good.
Okay. I'm not writing them off. I'm saying based on that performance, after screaming for a year that you want, Shakur won't fight me, you finally got Shakur, and this is what you did. Who wants to see him fight next? That's what I'm saying. I'm not writing off Edwin De Los Santos. I just don't validate that he's the second most skilled lightweight in the world. And I wouldn't pick him to beat Henry Lebron. I want to see what he's going to do, even in a rematch with William Foster. If he is that skilled, go prove that was a bad night for him.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and I get what you're saying, but if listen, sometimes you have to look at a fighter and look at his skill set, what you're looking at, and I'm telling you right now that Edwin De Los Santos is not somebody that people want to fight. Rayo's people did not do enough research on De Los Santos, and that's why the guy lost. De Los Santos is better than Venezuela. I mean, it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't anything else. It's like the guy just flies under the radar. It's like it's one of those things. If you don't mention his name, he just kind of disappears. Just like kind of how you kind of dismissed him, right? I don't know where anyone's going to want to see. I think, and I'll be straight up. I think that fight should have been a draw. I don't think Shakur won that fight because and I've looked at the fight a few times. I think that De Los Santos was pressing him. I mean, but it's I don't know who said that. Hey, if you're a puncher, you should be able to get him out of there, right? Just like when Boots fought Karen, they're like, well, he should have found a way. He should have found a way. But let me just tell you this: Shakur is a lot harder to find than a Karen. Okay, and what people are dismissing is Shakur Stevenson's mongoose-like reaction. Ability. I mean, you try to approach him, the guy just backs out, backs sideways, backs up, and he's just very, very quick. He's like a cat. So De Los Santos was pressing him, and honestly, I thought he was trying to bring the fight to Shakur, but it's just very, very difficult because you're probably looking at the best defensive skilled fighter in the world. I was very disappointed in Shakur Stevenson. Shakur doesn't have any excuses. I'm not even putting any credence into the whole my hand was hurt and all that. I don't like those excuses. But the reason why I was calling and the reason why I'm kind of pressing Jake about this is because as a boxing expertise, expert, you should be looking at Edwin a little closer because long term, and we'll see what his next fight is, but long term, he is going to make a believer out of people. There is a reason why Edwin De Los Santos' name never comes up, and there is a reason why that guy felt confident enough to be one of the only ones in that division to call out Shakur Stevenson. Everybody was turning the fight down. Now it's easy to say, now it's easy for Pitbull's people to go, that's why we didn't want to fight him, because it was going to be boring. No, you were going to get smashed. He was going to make you look like an amateur. That's the reason why none of these guys want to fight. Okay, hopefully Shakur Stevenson, maybe I saw Frank Martin tweet that Shakur Stevenson's food. We'll see if he takes the fight next. But, Jake, if you're still with me, and I know sometimes when I call in, I can't really hear you guys talk. But my question is, and this is my last bit, is Greg and I go back and forth on this whole BOK Prime and Jaron Ennis situation. Now, are you aware of the details on your end? And I'm not sure where you get your information from, but do you know much about what transpired with that situation?
No.
You're well informed with that?
Not particularly, no.
Not particularly. Okay. But when Bud Crawford but when Crawford fought Avanesian, you're saying that Jaron Ennis never got called?
I didn't say he never got called. I said Bud's team wasn't very aggressive in pursuing that fight. That they found an easy fight. Not an easy fight. It was easy to make the fight with Avanesian, because when they called him, Avanesian's team, of course, immediately grabbed the fight. That was the easiest fight for them to make at the time when they knew the Spence fight wasn't going to happen.
So I think what people are not understanding is they go, Crawford said, well, your name didn't come across my desk, or didn't come up as an option. So from what I understand is, right, if you're trying to put a fight together, you go find out what the options are, and then you present them to the fighter. Is that not how it works?
Yeah.
Okay. So if Crawford says your name didn't come up, does that mean that they didn't reach out to Jaron Ennis and his team? And I'm not going to say Jaron Ennis himself, because a lot of the times, you know, the management blocks the fight before he even gets to the fighter. But does that mean that they weren't called, or does that mean that perhaps they were called but he wasn't available? Because people forget this was on short notice.
Right. That's
Jaron,
exactly. Look, I'm not saying that a phone call. It's easy to say we called him and he didn't accept the fight. That can mean anything. I could bring up Greg right now, and Greg didn't respond. Like, oh man, why did you have me on the show last week? I called you, I let it ring once, and then I hung up. You know, that to me, a phone call doesn't mean anything. I just, to your point, that was a deal that was made very quickly. Avanesian was available. He was wherever ranked in the WBO. Avanesian's team took that fight to the point where they pulled out of another fight just to accept that opportunity.
Right.
That
actually cost money to make. They had to buy him out of his some sort of contract he had. I mean, people forget.
Yeah.
And
can I ask you a question, Jerry? Jerry, let me ask you a question, because I get what you do. Jake isn't aware of what you do, so let me ask you a question. Was Terence Crawford involved directly with the negotiations between Errol Spence and Al Heyman? Let me answer that question for you. He was, because he purposely went on Twitter to say that Errol Spence wasn't involved and that Errol Spence wasn't a boss. Now you're here to make the argument that Terence Crawford was unaware of the options and that fighters were presented to him instead of him being at the forefront of it and figuring out who he was going to fight next. 1 minute he can't be a boss and the next minute he's a worker. Which one is it?
Okay. Well, here it is, Greg. Now, it's simply put that way if you want to just present an argument and go, hey, he was a boss here but not a boss here. So we're talking about two separate occasions, right?
Doesn't matter.
We're
He's
talking
a boss.
about. Hang on a second. Because one, there was a short-term turnaround, and BLK Prime had to find a competitor, just like how they did with Jaron, with Broner.
Totally irrelevant.
How they went through 10. Hang on. How they went to like 10 different opponents, and one kept dropping out. So you're talking about the Avanesian fight, and then the second one we're talking about is when they actually called Crawford and said, "Hey, would you accept a boot spot?"
I'm not talking about boots. I'm not talking about boots.
One was short term.
Didn't say anything about boots. I'm talking about Terence Crawford negotiated with Errol Spence. In one situation, he was the boss of the entire situation in the room negotiating. Then you would have us to believe that when it came time to David Avanesian, he was presented fighters. Doesn't make sense, bruh. Sorry.
But it's because you want to look at it one way, Greg. like Greg, I honestly do not understand. Number one, we so deeply care about how much money Crawford makes. I've never seen that in the life of boxing.
You gaslight.
Number two,
you gaslight. I didn't say anything about how much he makes.
You are of the impression that Crawford is a liar, and Crawford only regurgitates what fans are saying on Twitter and social media. I mean, my God. I don't even know how you came up with that, but apparently it's fact. That Crawford regurgitates what his fans say.
You haven't answered my question. You haven't answered my question. You haven't answered my question. You gaslight. You're going to another direction. What Crawford makes has nothing to do with what I just said. Crawford lying or this, that, it has nothing to do with what I just said. You just changed the subject because you don't have an answer. And that's fine. You don't have an answer. But I'm going to cook you. I'm going to cook you this week because they said you cooked me this week. So I'm going to cook you.
You just don't want to take it.
No, it's a bad explanation.
BLK Prime said we will set up a short-term fight for you. And then they came back and said, here you are.
BLK Prime right now.
And so Crawford is saying that your name was never an option. Because according to them, they called Boots' team and they said, no, we're going a different direction. Right? And then they called Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman wanted too much money. I mean, Jake, you can comment one way or another of whatever you heard.
I just don't know if I care. I mean, why are we talking about this?
No, I know. It's kind of, but this is what we do.
Answer me about Henry LeBron, and then I'll answer that question. How's that?
They love to talk about these things, Jake. And I just like to kill them on it because the narrative that he creates doesn't make any sense. So I just kill them on it. Jake, so they talk. Jake, you getting cooked, Jerry. You getting cooked.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In your mind, I'm being cooked because your vision is tunnel. Your vision is tunnelized. So here's my thing, Jake. My problem is this: in the history of boxing, I have never seen a fighter that lives, breathes, and eats the sport, lives clean, dedicates himself, is hardworking, is followed and idolized by the best young prospects in the world. Demonized, and for some odd reason, I don't even know the reason, I can't pinpoint it, is hated on, and it's like you can't really figure it out. Now, I know Mayweather had his haters and people that love to see him lose, but here's the difference, and I'll leave you guys on this. The difference is that the people that hate on Crawford, the majority are African American. And that is the difference between Crawford hate, Mayweather hate, and any other top rated African American boxer of history. Muhammad Ali. We can go down the list. And that's what doesn't make any sense. Mayweather haters were across the board. The majority were non-African Americans, right? But with Crawford, it's 99% African Americans that hate him. And that's what kind of just drives me nuts because I cannot figure it out. I cannot figure it out. To this day, I've not ran into a non-African American Crawford hater. I have not had one discussion with someone that is non-African American that hates on Crawford.
Jerry, there's a reason. I have with it. Jerry, there's a reason for that. No one outside of the African American community knows him.
Okay. I know you would. I know you would have an answer. I knew you would have an answer because Crawford is not a draw. But listen. Thank you for having a discussion with me, my friends. Y'all have a happy Sunday. I'm going to hang up and listen. 99% of his haters are African American. Imagine that. Take care, my friend.
Appreciate you, Jerry. Appreciate you. Jerry, Jake, you may not know this, but Jerry and I go back and forth every single week on this stuff. And he loves to come in and do this stuff. He loves it. I just cooked him this week.
You got to see that fight in 2024.
They say that he cooked me last week, which didn't make any sense. I decided that I was going to fry him up this week. I didn't really respond too much last week, so I decided I was going to fry him up nice this week. Because Jerry didn't answer not one question that I made, and he started going to different directions and started talking about stuff we weren't even talking about. Talking about BLK Prime, that wasn't even a part of what we were talking about just then, but it is what it is. We got the 310 in the building. I know this is my guy. What's going on with you, fam?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you guys doing today, man?
I'm doing
What's
well.
happening, Adrian?
Good. Good to see you, Jake. Good to see you, man. I had a question for Jake right here. So, I'm gonna get to the point. So, after Benavidez rocks doo-doo next weekend, is he gonna get the big fight against Canelo, or is Canelo gonna get the duck again? That's what I want to know, man.
So Mauricio was very careful with how he put this out there. So first of all, he started with not even if Andrade wins this weekend, that if Benavidez gets past Demetrius Andrade, that he will be ratified as the mandatory challenger. He didn't even say that he would order Canelo Benavidez. They didn't have the decency to do that. After they awarded Canelo with Fighter of the Year, but let's not even get to that. I feel like for whatever PBC is planning in 2024, a Canelo David Benavidez fight should, I'm not saying will, it should be a part of what they're going to have to come out with some banging events in 2024. Especially if we're talking about 2023 was, this best year for boxing. They're going to have to follow suit since they won't have Showtime behind them. So whatever they have in addition to Amazon for what's going to drive PBC events in 2024, Canelo Benavidez, in my opinion, has to be a part of it. But knowing the business of boxing, I'm going to say it should be a part of it. The WBC has an opportunity to make that happen. No other mandatory is going to be next. I don't see the WBA jumping in and saying Canelo's going to have to fight David Morrell. No one's going to want to upset Canelo to that point. But again, none of us believe that we're going to get Canelo and Terence Crawford next, nor should we. Mm-hmm. I feel like that has to absolutely be the next fight. That fight makes too much sense. And especially with
because they got to get their money.
I don't care what
right?
they put out there. I think for where Canelo is at, marketing-wise, you need that fight to happen to get him back as the sport's biggest draw. Because in my opinion right now, Tank with the right opposition has surpassed Canelo in that category. True. Yeah, because the way that I see it is that's the biggest fight in boxing right there is Canelo and Benavidez right there. Biggest fight. I mean, I'm sure that someone that everybody wants to see, Hopefully Benavidez should get by doo-doo, boo-boo, whatever, should get by him. But if he does, then definitely Canelo has to take that fight, man. But I'm a little worried that Suleiman's going to let, Canelo get away with it because he'd be kissing Canelo's ass all the time, letting him do whatever the hell he wants. The thing about it is that, PBC, they got to make their money back. Whoever's got that money put into Canelo, because you need to make that money back. You're not getting money off. No one's making money off Canelo right now because you're paying him too much and you're not getting enough pay-per-views, So it just makes sense that Benavidez has to be in there. But every time the name Benavidez gets brought up, he doesn't want to hear about it. Canelo doesn't want to hear about it. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Do you see the same thing I'm seeing or what? Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think it's going to be a fight where Canelo's going to kind of have to. You're going to have to force his hand a little. I'm not going to say force Canelo to take that fight, but you are going to have to force his hand a little bit. And to that point, like PBC's not going to keep paying him whatever $40-50 million and not get at least $50-60 million back in return. So. I wish the Canelo-Jamel Charlo fight went a different way because then if Jamal looked good enough, that would have been an easy sellable fight next. But because that fight was the way it was and it wasn't as big of a draw, I don't see them being able to sell, that type of fight next. That's why I feel like Benavidez has to take place next. Let Jamal Charlo get back into it. Maybe he beats Jose next weekend. And then whoever, especially if David, messes around and beats Canelo, then that's a nice, you got my brother's keeper angle going into there. You let Jamal fight David Benavidez. But, I feel like we will see a Canelo Jamal Charlo if Jamal can get all the way back into the mix, but that fight can't happen next. To me, the only fight that really makes sense pay-per-view wise is going to be Canelo and David Benavidez.
Beautiful. Hey, well, I hope that you're right, man. Hey, I want to appreciate your guys' time. I want to take too much of your time right here. That last guy was a little long-winded, but Jason, Greg, appreciate your time. I want to send a shout out to my dad in heaven. Love you, Dad. And my son Jeremiah. Love you, son. You gentlemen have a really nice Sunday. Appreciate your time, man.
Appreciate you, Adrian. Thank you.
All right. Peace out.
All right, let's see where we at with time. We had an hour and 49 minutes. So we are going to go maybe another 5 minutes, guys, and then we are done. So if you have one more phone call, we'll take, and that'll be that. But yeah, man, Jake, people just it's interesting because these are the things that people harp on, certain aspects of things that are going on in the sport that, people harp on. And you honestly, as a YouTuber or whatever you want to describe us as, boxing media journalist, whatever, you kind of got to stay around those topics because those are the things that people are interested in. So I was surprised about like the whole Jaron Ennis and what happened then came back up. It just surfaced again after Crawford got stripped of the IBF title, and it just became this thing that you have to now address. So it's just interesting.
Every time. Salute, Manager Marty. What's happening?
Manager Marty's in the building. All right, last call. 313, you're in the building with the Angry Man Podcast. Jason and Greg and Jake for today. What's going on with you, fam?
What's happening, fellas? Man, I've been typing in the chat, talking shit. Hey, Jake, you did not respond to the brother. Why not, man?
To who?
The caller before the last caller. Man. Man,
what's the question?
Hey, go ahead.
No. What was the question? Because I don't remember the question that he didn't answer.
And he went on the call, Boo Boo Doo. Then he asked, hold on, I'm trying to remember it exactly. I was so disgusted with him. It slipped in my mind at the moment. I'm typing, I'm talking shit in the chat, and I'm reading the comments, and I'm like, Jake, talk some shit to him. Say something. Hold on, I can't hear Jake right now. Oh, because I called in on one tab and muted the other one. So, man, listen, anybody that's getting into the ring, to the chat, anybody that's stepping aside the square circle, give them their motherfucking props. Y'all been knowing Canelo did not want to see Boo Boo. Not doo-doo, sir. Boo Boo. Canelo did not want to see him.
I didn't validate it at all. I agree with you, but Andrade is the one who wanted this fight. He agreed to it right away and waited on Benavidez to sign on it. I give him full credit, not only for signing with PBC, positioning himself to get this fight, and then push it. Once the Benavidez Morrell fight wasn't going to happen, Demetrius jumped right in and signed right away. He gets 100% credit. I didn't validate that doo-doo comment at all.
Exactly.
You mad because I didn't call him out on it? I mean, okay. Look, fans are going to say,
yeah, you could have called him out on this shit, Jake. You got to let a motherfucker know where you stand, man. The truth is the truth.
I will take that. I agree.
Oh, all right. And Jason, your ass was too quiet, man. I'll be listening to y'all on a regular basis. Hey, Greg, you got the coolest name in the motherfucking world. It is mine. You did.
I feel you.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'm in my
hold up, fam. I ain't never heard you call in again. Man, you need to make sure you call in more often, bruh.
I will, man. I hit y'all in the chat and say I wish y'all had StreamYard, man. I wanted to see his motherfucking face, man. I ain't gonna lie.
We ain't got StreamYard, bro, but you can actually join us. That's not a problem, but we don't use StreamYard. But go ahead.
All right. I got my own little channel that I've been bullshitting on. I need to be getting on here more often because I be in everybody else's chats talking shit instead of going live on my own shit. But man, he just pissed me off so bad. I had to call in. I had to jump on Google Voice and call in on the other tab, man. And I done forgot some of the bullshit he was saying because I'm cleaning up my motherfucking garage. But he pissed me off with the bullshit. I ain't gonna lie. It was too much. I'm gone, man. Y'all go ahead and get it in. Let somebody else call in.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for calling.
Salute, man. Yes, sir.
And Jake, now you know why we have people call in. So that will conclude the call-in portion of the show. Jake, I want to definitely thank you for being a part of the show. We try to get you on at least once a month because you are so much closer to some of this stuff than we are. And like I said before, we're not journalists. We just create conversational pieces and try to create a community. And we don't necessarily have all the answers, but we do love to give our opinions. I definitely love to give mine. Right, wrong, I don't care. I'm definitely going to give it. But yeah, man, thank you for being a part of it.
No, I always appreciate, you guys having me on. And today was good, man. A lot of people I respect the fact that people want to challenge me. I try not to give I try to give, more fact than opinion, but I respect that people want to hold me to a higher standard. So, that's every time I'm on the show, man, it's some interesting calls. Today was really good though, man. A lot of good questions today. And even a couple of non-questions.
Yeah. Quick question for you, Jake, before we end everything. Any news or updates on any potential upcoming fights? I know nothing's out there as far as PBC where they're going to be at next year, but any rumblings or rumors?
I know I'm trying to keep my foot on all that. Just rumors. I know it seems like the Teo Ryan Garcia talk is not going away. I don't know if it's Top Rank, like they're desperate to stay in the Teofimo business, but nobody's like dismissing it outright. So I certainly don't hate the fight. I think it's amazing if they can make that happen. I would like to see boxing get back in the tradition. I know once upon a time they did stuff before Super Bowl weekend. I think it'd be like if you can come up with a big super fight on the eve of the Super Bowl. Like, look, if you're doing a show in Vegas during F1, then why not do a show in Vegas, the night before the Super Bowl? So if you can get the space and everyone's already in town, I'd have to imagine, and people would certainly go pay to see a Teofimo Ryan Garcia fight. Look, you're already in town, you need something to do. I know the Zone tried it a while back. I was actually ringside for it when Eddie Hearn had Demetrius Andrade. He headlined, and it was Jake Paul's pro debut, but they did it right down the block from where the Super Bowl stuff, was taking place. So I would like to see boxing get back into that. So and a Teofimo Lopez Ryan Garcia fight would be that'd be mess. I mean, you're getting a whole new audience as it is, and plus I think that's a huge boost for the sport as well. That's a big super fight that could easily sell, assuming Ryan Garcia wins. It seems like way too quick of a turnaround. He would have to like really tear through Oscar Duarte to be back like in 10, 12 weeks for a fight like that. But it seems like they're really forcing it. I don't know if they're using that to try to draw more attention to December, but it's also Top Rank that's been talking about it as well. So I haven't heard anything significant about any major fights coming up, but that does concern me a little bit. I know January is already shaping up nice. We got Virgil Ortiz returning. We got Benavidez hopefully doesn't get injured again, and he goes and fights Callum Smith. Yeah. So, but we got something for every weekend in January. But yeah, I haven't heard about like the big super fight that's coming up. So I know that's going to depend on when Tank comes back. When after this weekend, Canelo will probably spend the rest of the year deciding what he's going to do, or the WBC tell him what he's going to do. So I feel like in the next few weeks we'll finally get some sort of clarity on what's going to come in the first quarter of 2024. Because again, if we're going to keep talking about what a year this was, it has to carry over. That's the only way the sport's going to be healthy, because we're already losing the sport's biggest player in Showtime. So they're really going to have to come out banging in 2024. It concerns me that I haven't really heard those stories yet as to what is to come.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right.
Agreed. Yeah. All right, guys.
On my eyes, I want to see what happens with Tank. To me, it's important, like how Tank comes out in 2024, because they keep talking about like if PBC is doing this thing with Amazon, it would make sense for him to headline the first one. I really hope that it's not, Lara Garcia and Thurman Stanionis headlining, your first one out the gate. That's kind of stumbling out the gate. You want someone like Tank, like Fox did that when they first did, a show, Mike Tyson headlined their first one, and it was like a massive ratings draw. Then it kind of trickled into what it became, but you want to come strong out the gate and then, build off that. I'm not sure Eric Lundy, Lara, Danny Garcia fight is the best way to go.
That ain't gonna be it.
But Tank versus whoever would be the one that would draw the attention.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that concludes the show. Once again, Jake, I want to say thank you for joining the show. And guys, if you haven't had the opportunity to hit the like button, please hit the like button on the way out. Appreciate you guys and everybody that contributed to the channel today, not only financially but otherwise through your phone calls and your chats and your interaction and your engagement. So appreciate that. And until next time, peace.
Thank you both, man. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Ain't no thing, Jake. We appreciate you, man.
No doubt.